So, hi, Edward. So happy to have you here to share your success
Again.
story. And so, before we get into what the results were through the program, I'd love for you to tell us a little bit more about where you were before you joined and
Mhm.
what kind of prompted you to want to get the kind of support that you received.
Yeah, so I've been working at my current company about 2 years when I realized I was trying to look for something new. I was unhappy about a bunch of things, so I go into too much detail, but I was really looking for the next opportunity. I wanted to get a little bit narrower in my scope in terms of what I'm doing. And I think I spent a good like 9 months interviewing where I was barely getting interviews. I got a few. I even got to final rounds, but then I never got any offers, even though I thought I was like perfectly qualified. And I got to a point where I kept applying to just like broader and broader stuff. And I was like, I'm just like desperate to get out of here. I'm going to apply to everything. None of those were sticking. So nobody was going to talk to me. And then a friend of mine actually went through your program. She got two jobs. They were awesome. And she's like, you really know how to try Avinola. She's great. We had our initial call, and then everything just became so much easier. And I took your advice from literally like day one of like clarifying what I'm doing all the way through my resignation letter yesterday, which is crazy. Like even then, I was using your Forbes article for that, even after we were just finished with our program. So
Right. And I totally agree. You just soaked up everything I said, used the right tools, and you got awesome results. And so I could imagine in the beginning, you said you were looking for about 9 months, you were getting these interviews, you knew that you were qualified. What were some of those emotions or maybe even fears you had, even when your friend said, like, you should try this? Like, did you have any kind of like things that were coming up for you as far as like, should I really do this? Because obviously you're so qualified already. Was that something that you struggled with?
yeah, I think the question for me was like, what am I doing wrong? I have no idea. I felt like my resume was really good. I thought my background was really good. Like I had great qualifications, and I thought my resume was good enough at showing that. I didn't think I had any problems interviewing, which I later found out is not true. And I didn't realize there's like every single possible step of the hiring process from like, let's say it's like 100 different things. I can improve on basically all of them in some way and make myself really consistent and at every step stand out. I had none of, I didn't have that before. And now I feel totally confident. I was no longer stressed out. You were basically my therapist in a way. It's like, I feel like, okay, she's got me. She's like holding my hand through all this. I still did all the work. And I think I read at some point early when Anastasia recommended you, she was like, you know, as long as a program's like internally consistent and you listen to all of it and you do all of it, it works. Don't take it piecemeal. Just kind of trust the process. That's like the number one advice I would give is just trust the process. It like really works. There's a reason all your clients are doing great. You can see people getting more confident as time goes on. They're like legitimately getting happier, you know, and you can see that yourself, right?
Right. Yeah. And Anabasi is great for telling you all of that before you even had a conversation with me. And you already kind of talked about how things did change for you, but what would you say was really the biggest takeaways and changes and improvements you saw, like just going through the program?
Yeah, I think for me, what when I think a lot of it really clicked is really actually going through the resumes, funny enough, because I started thinking about, here's how you are versus here how you present yourself. And the
Mm.
step one of having to be really, really intentional about that. It doesn't matter what you've done because people are going to read, different people could read different things from the way you present yourself, and you have to put yourself out there in a kind of accomplishment oriented way so people know what you've done and that if you emphasize what's important to them, like what your boss considers important is not exactly what your hiring manager cares about. And like there's all these different things that I was just have never thought about. So my resume went from I thought it was really good to now I'm like super proud of it and I know it's really good.
Right. Yes, I love that. And like you said in the beginning, you were so keen on absorbing all the information. And the advice, you know, and you really came in and said, okay, what am I doing wrong? How can I fix it? Because like you
Mhm.
said in the beginning, you're like, I don't even know what I'm doing wrong, but I'm obviously doing something wrong. So let me figure out
Okay.
what that something was. And so what for you, let's talk about the results. Like what were the results that you were able to achieve from joining the program and following and doing the work?
Yeah. So actually, I came in being like, I need this really narrow position. I need to be like I do China stuff. I need to be a China economist. I needed to keep doing econ stuff. I realized I needed to broaden out, and I knew I wanted to try moving abroad and maybe to China. I actually landed a job at TikTok. I didn't think I was going to go to a tech company. I'm going to do global public policy there, which is going to be awesome. So it's really broad. I still love all the stuff it's going to involve. I actually get to move to Beijing for a role. I not only got a really good offer, I managed to negotiate more and make the logistics. I got them to bend over backwards to make the logistics as painless as possible, help pay for relocation. And a lot of it really goes back to this: position yourself as strongly as possible throughout the whole process. And then it became really easy because I could tell they really wanted me. And so I think I put myself in a really strong position. So I'm really excited about the role.
Yes, and let's unpack that.
Even in this crazy coronavirus time. So.
Right, right. I would say let's unpack that because not so in the beginning you're like, I would love to move to China. You were in a place where you didn't even know if it was possible, right? Like you're like,
Yeah.
this would be good, but I don't know if I can really do it. I've had a couple of interviews with different companies, but I haven't really gone anywhere. I remember in the beginning, you're like, I think I'm overqualified for the roles that I'm going for. Like you were just trying to figure out what you're doing
Yeah,
wrong,
exactly.
and the goals that you had seemed so far away, you know, and you went from feeling that way to not only getting a job in Beijing, but doing it at a time where we're going through a pandemic right now and experiencing so much change all over the world.
Yeah,
And you're going to a whole new continent where people would probably think that sounds impossible. And so how does that
exactly.
feel? Like how does that feel being able to accomplish that over the last, 3 months or so? How does that feel for you?
It's so crazy now that I'm starting to digest it. You know, I've got 2 weeks exactly till my job starts. So I'm gonna start remotely from here. This is like people were saying like, okay, you got to write a book later. This can be chapter one because like, how are you moving abroad to somewhere a lot safer in the middle of this pandemic and you got a great job and like how can you do that? And you know, I went through like all these interview rounds. It was super tough. It's like a top brand. Um, just being able to do it like in a normal time would have been so hard. But anyway, as I told you, you're a miracle worker. So
I
yeah,
love it. And then you talked about how you're able to even negotiate the logistics and how did that feel? Because in your previous role, you always, you in the beginning, you're like, I want to be able to make more. I want to be able to really, operate at a competitive level. Like, how did it feel to go from not doing that and experiencing that to being able to negotiate and let alone negotiate logistics and other things along with
yeah,
that salary?
it's super freeing. And like I think one thing that stood out to me, and like you've got this whole thing about how to negotiate, which is like super. A lot of your stuff is worth its weight in gold. This one's this is one of them. It's like the idea that you negotiate yourself into a position where you're talking about what's my market rate, and then you say like, okay, I'm worth more than my market rate for these reasons. And I got exactly to that position, and I gave all the reasons, and I got to the point where the HR person I'm negotiating with is trying to be my advocate to the compensation team, and she's trying to say like, I really need to get this guy. He's really qualified. I'm going to justify on his behalf this better package, and that's what happened. And that just like felt so empowering because it's always like, you know, a lot of people get to this stage with an offer or almost an offer, and they're like, oh, now I got to compromise somehow so they'll really take me. I don't want to lose them. But instead, you kind of flip it where you're um, the whole interview process. You're chasing them. At the very end, you need to make it so that they're chasing you. And I definitely got to that point. So that was really empowering.
Yes. And you didn't really say too much about your past experience, but you're coming from a place where you didn't really feel 100% supported. You didn't really feel like
No.
you're in a place where you can grow, and you haven't even started, and you're already feeling so supported by HR, by your team, by the
Yeah,
company in
yeah,
general.
yeah. It's already a big
How
difference.
has how has things and how has your life and even like your beliefs and all the things that go with getting this opportunity, how has that changed for you? How have things improved because of this opportunity?
Well, I mean, I'm just generally more optimistic. I'm just super excited. I'm only starting to process it now very slowly. Part of that is because everything in the world is just kind of it's a big jumble, so you don't know what's going on. But yeah, it's just like, my job now doesn't pay me enough. I get overworked. I'm not respected enough. I haven't had enough growth opportunities. None of those are going to be a problem now. And I know I can just focus on doing really great work, and I'm going to be paid for it. I'm going to be learning. I have opportunities to grow. It's just, I don't know, everything about it is like a 180-degree change. Uh,
Right.
just, yeah. It also makes everything else in life a little bit easier. This is no longer a big burden. It's no longer like a job you complain about. It's like that job you're super excited about.
Right. You can talk to your friends about it. You're not like dreading the conversation about what do you do. You're actually excited to
Yeah,
tell someone like, this is what I do. And it's like, oh wait, what? That's what you do?
right. Yeah. No, it's one of those jobs where it's like, how did you get that job? People do that. I literally had friends that were like, wait, companies like that have that kind of job? What?
No,
So
honestly,
I'm in
you're
that position now. I've heard of this situation where like you're a few years out of grad school and you get one of these things. They're like, how do you what? That's a job. I'm at that point, which is just so crazy.
it's so amazing because you're obviously your role, your career is so niche in a sense that it's really specific, but you were able to take that role and create it into this amazing opportunity at a tech company, which I don't even think was really on your radar before you joined the
No,
program.
no. And I'd add like I had some friends I told comment, they're like, oh, you're changing industries, but like something you told us very early on is like it's not about the industry, it's about the skill set and what you're really doing. So you got us looking really widely. So, I want to do public policy, I want to do econ, I want to do international stuff, China stuff, all this. The job clicked, but I would have never, I'm not going to go on TikTok's website and look at the career page normally. It's like, yeah. So this feels totally natural, even though I'm just, I'm going out of finance consulting into tech, but I feel like I'm
Right.
similar stuff. Yeah.
Yes. And so, what would you tell someone who was like you? Like they still qualify for the roles they want, they're not getting them, they've got interviews, but they're not going anywhere. They feel like they're doing all the right things, but they don't know what to do to really get that. And they're thinking about taking this leap. Like, what would you tell that person?
Uh, there's someone named Adunola Adishola. You could pay her a very reasonable amount to save your life. And
I
laugh a
love
little bit
that.
along the way. Follow her on Instagram at least. Also watch Love Island or something too, but or Love is Blind, that one. Uh, yeah, no, you're doing something wrong. But even if stuff you're doing well, you could do differently or think about it differently, or approach it a little bit more intentionally. There's a lot of stuff that you said along the way that I kind of think of as like almost unorthodox advice, because people get advice from their parents, from their friends, from their classmates, from their grandparents, and a lot of it is clashing and it just doesn't really make sense. You don't know who to listen to. It's just like so comforting to have one person to trust. That's kind of hope, like, it's like having a mentor for a while. That's just like, it's peace of mind, and peace of mind is kind of priceless, but also knowing you're almost definitely getting something great at the end of it too. Um, I mean, it's I don't know if it's guaranteed, but it seems like you don't have to worry too much. You just put in the work. So if that's what someone wants, if they want peace of mind and confidence and to be happier and more optimistic, I mean, those are all great things.
Yes, I love it. And I am just so proud of you. Like, I think about the fact where you were in the beginning to where you are now, and the fact that you are going to a whole new country with the role that the type of role that you were always imagining yourself being in
Yeah.
at a time where we're going through such a crazy experience. It's just like anything is impossible. Like you
Everything.
can literally do anything that you put your mind to if you're willing to get the right strategies and put them to
Yeah.
work.
I'd even add, you kind of opened up my eyes to like what the realm of possibility is. Because, like the hiring process, it seems so like non-transparent. Who knows what's going on? But, you really start to understand it. You get practice, you know how to do things. I don't know. There's just this is the kind of thing that helps you the rest of your career forever. So I don't know. It feels like yesterday that we started, and now it's like college graduation. It's so weird.
Are you getting emotional?
I'm
Like this
getting
is the
emotional.
end.
Are you getting emotional?
Yes. Because you finally made it, to this part where you're able to share your story and be able to say, like, this is what I did, this is how I did it, and this is how you can do it as well. And that is just remarkable. And you're leaving this place where you were in this kind of like small company, feeling like that was really knowing that there was more out there, but not knowing what really was out there.
Yeah.
Living in New York to making this massive career transition to a whole new continent, doing exactly what you always said that you wanted to be doing. So I couldn't be any more like thrilled to have been a part of that journey for you. So last words, like, do you have anything else that you want to share with someone who may be on the fence? Anything that you want to say about your experience and how it was different this time around?
If they haven't spoken to you, talk to you. You're like, they really need to talk to you to get a sense of like how great you are. Because I'll put it this way: when I first talked to you, I was like, oh, she's going to try to sell me on stuff. It's going to be one of these like used car salesman speeches. But then you're like, no, she's really sharp. She really knows thing. You really have an understanding of like how things work, why you need to do things a certain way. And that, even from someone talking to you for the first hour, you were like talking to me, you were able to point out things that I should have done differently. Where other people are like, oh, maybe it was just, maybe it's just bad luck or something. You're like, no, you could have, there's a different reason you could have done something else. So yeah, just
Right.
have that talk. If you feel like you know what you want next and it's just not working for some reason, there's a reason.
Right. Yes, I love it. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing your story.
You.
And I'm so excited and so proud of you.